Okay, so I'm going to do a more of a serious video. I'm gonna try to do this in one take, but I don't feel like editing. So hopefully I can do this in one take. I'm gonna try not to be too like emotional or anything. It is really sunny, so you might see like glares and stuff, but I'm just, yeah. So I'm going to talk about my suicide attempts. I am not suicidal anymore. Well, I can't really say that, but like I'm in a mentally safe place in my mind, where I do not have, as of currently in my life, I am not suicidal. And so the point of this video is just to kind of share my story. If people watch it, great. If they don't, that's fine. This is more of a documentary video. Most of my videos are. It's just, yeah, I've wanted to really talk about it and kind of really bring it out, because it's therapeutic for me. It's a way to maybe help somebody else who may be struggling. And if nobody watches it, fine. If somebody watches it, great. Yeah. So I guess we can start from when I was in 7th grade is when I really started feeling really depressed. I don't think I took it super serious, but that is when I started feeling early signs of depression. I mean, I have had because now with my therapy and stuff, I have noticed maybe where I could have been early depressed, because I'll talk about this in another video, but I was adopted and all that, and I did go through trauma as a child, as a little child, because 7th grade is still a child, but and so pretty much in 7th grade I didn't have a lot of friends, and friends I did have, I didn't exactly fit in with. I mean, I went to lunch with them and all of that stuff, but I was really depressed, and that is the first time I felt depression. I never talked to anybody about it. No one knew I was depressed, and that's when I started really feeling depressed. That's when I started experimenting of dangerous acts, I guess, within myself. And so pretty much I didn't know how serious it was, and so I would make this page, because I saw other people making these pages of me hurting myself and all that, and my dad did, one of my friends saw it, and so they obviously told the school, which was great, but my parents didn't see. No hate to my parents, I'm really close with them. It's been a very rocky road throughout my childhood with a relationship with them. I'm really close with them now, so we don't need to hate on them or anything, but they're from a generation, and where a lot of parents, where you could probably relate to me, is they're from a generation where mental health and depression and all that was not talked about or educated, so they didn't know what to do. But my dad did talk to me about it and stuff, and this is not something you should be doing, you know. And so, but truly I was feeling depressed, and then I told a friend, I cut myself, and of course she told the principal and brought my mom in and stuff, and my mom was like, oh, she's just joking. but in reality I wasn't joking. That's kind of where like self-harm started, is because I saw online, and a friend that in a state I used to live in when I was a kid was harassing me and was telling me to, like, you know, you should self-harm. This is how you self-harm yourself, and sent me a video of how she would self-harm herself, like step by step and everything. And as a, like, I was like 13, 14, and so, and as a 13, 14, I was like, what is this? It was kind of like scary. Yeah, it was very scary, and then wanted me to make a video of killing myself. And so I did not actually think I was going to die. I did not, but I just thought it was a game in my head, which became actually very toxic seriousness. And so I did try to actually kill myself in 7th grade. I popped up my phone. I had like the iPhone 4 and was recording it, and then my mom came in and was like, what are you doing? And the girls, because they were actually on FaceTime, which was like, it was not like a real recording, it was through FaceTime, and they were laughing, and they ended the call because obviously my mom came in, and so then I was like, I don't know, they told me to kill myself. And of course, as a parent, you're like, no, you don't do that, you know. And after that, I kind of just moved on, and then things actually started doing good for me. I started like doing gymnastics and dance and all that stuff, and then like I started going back into cheer, because I did cheerleading as a very young kid. And I did all these competitions and stuff, but then we moved, so then obviously I couldn't go back to it, so I stopped doing it for a while, and then I went back into it in 7th grade, and I did some cheerleading in a different town, because I did not want to be in my town doing it, so I did cheerleading alongside of dance. I did dance in my town, which I was very scared and hesitant to do, and I kind of expressed that to my dad, but he's like, oh, you know, you can make friends nearby and stuff, and I was like, I don't know, I don't really want to. I never liked my town, like my hometown that I like grew up in since I was in 5th grade. I never liked it. The kids there were always mean to me, because I was different, obviously because of my background, and at the time, which I don't consider myself having anymore, because I did lose 3 years of my life when I was in Russia. I lost 3 years of my life from my mom abandoning me and stuff, and being like homeless, and kind of going to random people's houses, and my mom was like a sex worker and stuff, so like from that caused me to have some of these delays in today would call it intellectual disability, when my brain was a little slow, I guess you would say, so I was a little behind, but now through like high school and having a support system, and college really just broke it through for me, like where I don't have a disability, I'm normal, you know. I have mental disorders obviously, but nothing that is like disability. Anyways, so then pretty much around 8th grade was like where it was more of a real attempt, where I was in a very dark place. I had no friends. Like 7th grade I had a couple, but 8th grade is where it was really dark for me. I had no friends whatsoever. People were mean to me, people bullied me. I was also, through these years, which I will talk in another video when I'm ready, which I'm not ready to talk about, through these years from the grade of 5th grade all the way up to 11th grade, I was being essayed by a family member and abused. So that didn't help me. That did not help my case. It really didn't. So and I was being threatened to not talk to nobody about it. I wasn't allowed to, and if I did, that person told me that they will make sure that my parents knew it was all on me, which it wasn't. And so it just made everything worse. And I really felt like I was in a cloud of chaos and I didn't know how to get out of it. I really felt like I was stuck, and I would look at very depressing stuff. I would look at like eating disorders, because people also like kind of shamed me of my body because didn't have the fastest metabolism, or even I was a very active kid. I still wasn't the skinniest or the supermodel, but that caused me where I would go like weeks without eating. The only time I ate was for dinner at home. Like at school I would never eat. And sometimes even if I ate dinner I would make myself throw up. Or I would count how many days I can wait before I can just not eat, how long it would take before I passed out. And I did pass out a lot of times, and it was very scary at times. And like there's this like frustration in society where like, I can go in the video about this too, is like eating disorders isn't where you're just skinny. Like it happened, like eating disorders can happen if you're fat, if you're obese, if you're skinny. Like anorexia, eating disorders does not happen when you're skinny. It can happen to literally anybody. And so this girl I met through dance harassed me for years and would literally call me saying I don't have a real eating disorder because of this. And I can go on a whole video about that, but this is not that video. And so then moving on to 9th grade. So 8th grade is when pretty much, sorry, I'm like losing my track. And also this is also like a blur too, is because this was a really long time ago. I am 26 now, and back then I was like 14, 15, so it is a blur. But as I go up to the years of all of them, it will come clearer and clearer because those were the more recent ones. And so pretty much in 8th grade, I got like in a really big fight with my mom. And like I was like, nobody loves me, this and that, everybody hates me. And it was like a whole fight and everything. And also like my parents' divorce was a lot for me because I was in the middle of it when I was like, before I moved to where I am now. Before I moved to the state, like, because I lived in Connecticut, And so when I lived in Connecticut, my parents were like the great American dream family, and then when we moved here, it like broke. So, and that took a really big toll, because a lot of it I still feel like was my fault, and so that has always been in my brain and my mind for years. I'm still like, even today, I'm still healing from that. Like, that like traumatized me as a kid, because I was like 11 years old when that happened. And so we got in a big fight, and then I had like a belt, and I threatened to kill myself pretty much, because, and I generally wanted to, I just didn't know how, or yeah. And so, and as I like got older, it just got scarier and scarier. And so then that happened, and then I made my mom cry, and I felt like a really horrible person, which at the time, even like talking about it, it's like I kind of was a horrible person for doing that, because that is horrible to do. But I was also like a kid, and I was going through a lot, and I think that was like my way of like saying, you know, help me, like I need help, or like I need, like, you know, all these things. When I was like in middle school, is all of them was like I need help. And I can go on a video of this too, is like I love my mom, but she was absent for a lot of my life. Even like the only time she wasn't is when we didn't live here. When my parents were all like good, happy family, is when we moved here. Everything fell apart for me. Literally everything. And so like my mom like became distant from me. And was more focused on my brothers, and so because of that, I didn't have, and having like the mother abandonment since I was like a baby has always stuck with me. It's just to like having that mom bond, having those like birds and bees talks, having the mother-daughter times. I never had that because she was always at her house. And sometimes I would go over there, but it was mostly with my brothers that she would go with, and I just stayed with my dad. And obviously my dad can't understand certain things. So we had a nanny. So I guess she wasn't a big part of my life, and she still is. And I will forever be grateful for her, because she was the mother figure I needed. But even with that, it's like I still see the mom that adopted me. I still see her, and she's not there. And I see her loving on other people and other people's kids, and it's like, but what about me? And that's where it like neurologically damaged me. And I know it has nothing to do with me. Like after, with a lot of therapy, I've known it's like not about me. Something must have happened in her childhood where she didn't know how to be the mom that she could be, the best mom she could be for me. And she's a great mom, don't get me wrong, don't hate on her. We're really close now that we're both adults, but back then it was really challenging. And then so pretty much moving on to 6th grade, it was really tough. I didn't attempt this time. It was more of kids are mean in school, and this is one of the reasons, if I ever have kids, I do not ever want them to put them in public school systems. I do want to homeschool my kids, because you can still have the social aspects, you can still have the mental aspects, you still have the education and the physical aspects of physical sports and stuff with homeschooling. You just have to take them to these things. You take them to these clubs, the sports, and all that, and you can, you know, still have a successful kid without because public school system is functioning when it was, they are functioning under the 1900s generation and even before that, the old ages, that's how they're functioning. And it's not in today's age. We didn't get taught AI in school, because schools don't teach that, because they're not functioning in today's age. So that's what I can go in a whole video, is like, schools are not designed to teach today's generation. They're designed to teach the generation before and before that. But I can go on a rant for that. And so, and then once I hit 10th grade, and keep in mind, in all these ages, I was still being essayed. I was still being abused. And I am still trying to push through. I'm still trying to go to school every day. I'm still trying to be happy. I'm still trying to make friends. And it's really hard. And that man was also watching me all the time. I was saying, make sure I don't tell any of my friends. All of that. And yeah. So 10th grade is when I made my first friend, and I was really happy. It was my first time when I was actually really happy. I was actually genuinely not depressed. I had a lot of family troubles, and it affected me mentally, but not at the mental state that I was before that. And I really liked it because I got really close, and I'm still really close with the family of that friend, and we got really close. I'm not close with the friend, and that was something else happened, and it's okay. But I'm not going to talk about it. But yeah, and I got really close with the family, and so I would go over there like all the time, and I was like genuinely really happy. I kind of just like, people still bullied me in school, but I didn't care, because I had that one friend, and then I had another friend and another friend, and I felt like I belonged somewhere. I felt like I'm worthy. I felt like I had a reason to be alive. I stopped self-harming. I can go in a whole video of how I started, but this is just for suicide. But I like stopped self-harming. I stopped doing all these things. I still had the eating disorder problem, but I still like I was happy. I had that, even with everything was being good, at home it wasn't, and me and my mom were probably in the worst relationship ever. Like, out of my whole life, I think this was the year that like me and my mom were like the furthest away from close we've ever been. And like, she would tell, like, I'd be really close with like some of the moms with the friends I was with, and she'll compare me with like, she's not your mom. Like, do you want to go back to Russia? Do you want to do this? And I'm like, I don't want to. I'm just trying to, survive. And I was trying to survive. And anybody that tried to help me through my situation, she would yell at and say, you're enabling her, or this and that, and that and this. And it was a lot for me. But I got through it, and I was actually happy. And then another girl that I met, like, I guess went through, she in a way, I don't know, I can't speak for her, but she had an SA situation with also a family member, which that is why we connected. And I didn't tell her about my story, but yeah, it was a hard friendship. It was very triggering for me because she self-harmed. I can go in like depth of how public self-harm sometimes affects me. It's not that it's bad, but sometimes it does trigger me. And at that moment in my life, I was very damaged. I was not okay mentally, and so I was like triggered really easily. And so then 11th grade rolls around, and that was not my worst year, but it was my second to worst year of my life. And so pretty much things started unfolding slowly, and all of these things that were in my soul were like a balloon blowing up, but not blown up yet. The balloon didn't pop yet, but it was, adding some air to it because everything started unfolding, and I was under a lot of school pressure. I was under a lot of stress, and I went to a point where with that friend I was not doing well at that moment. We had a falling out, and I'm not gonna get into that, but we had a falling out, and then I then lost purpose of life again. That's when I started therapy. I was really depressed. I would cut myself every single day. I was suicidal every single day. Everything started unfolding for me. I was in therapy 5 days a week, because I was suicidal. That's how if it wasn't for my counselors I was with, I probably would have died, because they are the reasons why I kept going, is because I was looking forward to talking to a therapist every single day, because I could talk to them and unravel my feelings, because I never got taught emotional regulation. Because I never got taught emotional regulation and how to regulate my emotions. Life was really hard for me. Yeah. And so then later, later it was, I want to say, November of my 11th grade year, I was going to actually kill myself. I didn't really know what I was gonna do, but I knew I was going to die. And so I was hoping that if I die, everything will be done. Everything will be good. And so I had these pens, which actually, I don't even know where they are now. But I had these pens, and I was hoping that I would bleed to death, pretty much. And I wrote on my arm, I craved into my arm a disappointment, and it was bleeding pretty bad, but I didn't die. And I woke up the next morning very confused of why I didn't die. I was bleeding really bad, like there was blood like going down my arm, but it was really bad, and I was like, why am I alive? Like, am I a ghost in my room? Like, what's going on? Like, maybe I died, and maybe, so I go out of my room, and then I see my dad, and I'm like, hi, and he responds to it, so I'm like, I'm alive. And I'm so confused, because, like, I literally fell asleep while I was bleeding, so I thought I, like, literally passed out, or, like, died. I honestly probably made myself pass out more than dying, but that was probably, like, really close to it, like, you know. So I bandaged it up. I went to school every day, asked me what happened. Obviously say, oh, I broke my arm or something. But, you know, it was like a really surreal but scary moment. And after a little bit, I was like still really depressed. And I was like with all the stress and stuff, I was like, why didn't I die? And one day I cried about it. I was like, I would pray and I would be like, why did, like, I was praying to the universe. I was like, why did you like keep me here? Like, I don't belong here. I hate it here. Nobody likes me. I just need to be gone. And so I honestly think the universe was probably, you know, giving me another chance and 5 more chances, honestly. And so then later in 11th grade, I started actually being happy. I was working and stuff. I started a new job in February, working with children, and I was in a better place that summer. I was also babysitting in the summer on top of my job, and I was just really happy that year, the rest of that year. Like, the beginning of the year was really rough for me, but like from February to like the summer, I was really happy. And so then my senior year rolls around, and this is where it gets really scary, and this is where it was like a real like kinda attempt, but yeah. And so pretty much around, I would say, November, I got really frustrated one day. And I think because I've been bottling up all these things, and probably like around springtime of 11th grade is when all the abuse and SA stopped. This is like the last time it happened. And I felt finally safe. Like, not safe because, you know, obviously he was still like in the house, but like I was safe. Like, I felt like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm free from this. But then, you know, there's a whole nother part. I'm stuck with all of this still. I can't tell anybody about this. And so I was thinking about that for a very long time, and I was like, I want to tell somebody, but I don't know who. And at the same time, I still cared about him. It's like, a lot of people be like, why would you care about somebody that hurt you? When it's your family, it's a different level. It's a more complicated situation. It's not like it's your boyfriend or like maybe like somebody like your uncle or something, and then like you can move on from it. You know, it's like they live in your house and all of that. And so one day I was really stuck in school. I was struggling with the coursework, and I got really frustrated because this teacher was nagging on me, which, you know, it's not her fault. And so she was like saying something, I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but she was like saying like something along the lines of like, why can't you focus or something. I was like, and I spat out, like, it's not my fault that I'm being SA'd. It's not my fault that I get hurt every day. And that kind of just came out. Sorry, somebody was calling me. So this will definitely not be one take, but as I was saying, so pretty much, yeah, I kind of spat it out to my teacher and all that, and so they obviously had to report it. And so then I was like, oh, and so I started freaking out. I was so scared, and that whole situation, I'm going to talk about a different video, but yeah, so pretty much I was freaking out and all that, and I went home that night after everything, and, well, before I went home, it was like around 3 o'clock, I remember this, it was like around 3 o'clock, school was like over, I was about to like go to my job, because I like went to work after school, and so I went to my teacher, and no wait, let me go back for a second. I usually have these like therapy meetings, so I went to my regular, it was like on a Wednesday, so I had a regular therapist, psychologist appointment, and so I went to her office, and obviously like I told her everything, and so she had to also report it, and that is when I started really freaking out, because she said I have to report it to Child Protective Services, and so I really started freaking out, because I'm like, my parents are gonna hate me, they already hate me, they're gonna hate me even more, and I was so scared. I was in a time where I was always taking care of everybody else but myself. Like, I would always take care of everyone. I would take care of my mom's feelings. I would filter what I wanted to say instead and take care of her feelings. I would take care of everybody else's feelings but my own. And so in this situation, I was like, I have to take care of everybody else more than myself. So I went home and I was like, I'm gonna kill myself. I can't live with myself. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait until my 18th birthday and I'm going to kill myself. And I had a plan to take all of my, because I had ADHD, to take all my ADHD pills. And so that was my plan, is to take all my ADHD pills and I would just peacefully die. And so the next week rolls around. No, it was like a couple days after, not the next week. It was like a couple days after. It was like a Friday. I am trying to put this behind me, pretending nothing is happening. Like, and I'm like thinking, I like that whole week, I isolated myself so dark in my room. Like, I put like one of those sheets for like your bed and stuff, like not the like this, but like the sheet. Sorry. So like so I had one of those like sheets and I put it over my bedroom window and I like put one of those pins, and put it over my window, and then after that, like I would like watch like 13 Reasons Why, or like I would watch the like most depressing Netflix shows or like YouTube videos or like really depressing music, and I was like I couldn't even face my dad. Like, I respected my dad so much, and I was like, he's going to hate me after this, because like he is the one person I felt like that did not actually hate me, and like I was like, he's gonna hate me after this, and then like I like wouldn't even like I couldn't even eat, like I didn't even eat, like I was even trying not to eat. I generally did not eat, and so then later, like And so then later, like a couple of days later, it was like a Friday, and I was in school, and I got a note thing that they give to teachers and say like this kid has to like leave the classroom, and they said I have to talk to, it said like I have to talk to my assistant principal. And so I was like, I was really scared. I like as soon as I walked down there, I was like scared, and all of that, I got put into like a closet room, and I was freaking out, and I was like fighting everybody, and I'll go into it later, but yeah, that was that. And so then like a couple like months go past, and obviously the investigation's obviously like for real now at this point, and like everything's being processed and everything. Like my whole family's being interviewed, I was being interviewed, like my whole family was being interviewed pretty much. And so then the last person was obviously my dad being interviewed. It was the day before like it like snowed really hard, and so like all the schools were closed, and it was like the day before like my birthday. It was like one of the worst birthdays I've ever had. And so I was turning 18, and I was like, I am going to kill myself. And my dad hated me at that moment. Like my dad couldn't even look at me in the face. My dad didn't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep at night. Like everything was horrible, and I felt like it was all my fault. But through therapy, I've learned that was not my fault whatsoever. The only fault was the person that was hurting me all those years. And so then later it was my birthday, and so I did tell my mom what happened. She actually was like, saw me really distressed one day, and was like, your father is gonna kill you. That's the first thing she told me. Because she came in my room and talked to me and told me, your father is gonna kill you. And would just kind of go on and telling me that, like, boys be boys. That is normal. Everything he does was normal that he did to me. And so it made me feel like I was crazy. And called me a liar and said that I don't believe you. And then later I with my younger brother, which I was really close with, I was like, hey, do you want to go for a walk? So we went to a walk, and we kind of went down in town and stuff, and took some pictures, and I felt okay enough. I still like was like, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was actually okay, like I took a walk, so I was like, okay, but like I knew I was going to die at some point. I just knew my birthday was not going to be the day I was going to die. But I wanted to, but it didn't happen. Like before I wanted to, but then the day came and I was like, I can't die because I can't leave my brother. And my brother came in my room one day and he was like, I don't want you to die. And that really hurt because like he's like one of the most important people in my life. He was like always there for me, and he would always let me talk to him when I was like having a really hard time, and he was always on my side on things. And something I never knew, which I will talk about in a different video if you guys want to hear it, but is some of the stuff is like he actually witnessed, so I knew I wasn't going crazy. Like I knew like he witnessed something, and apparently he was quiet about it, and he's like, I know he did that stuff to you. And so he did testify and everything, and so but then I was like, you know, maybe I do have a thing to live and all of that. And then that was kind of, and then like that night is when I started getting really sad, and I at that point I cut myself so much. It was crazy. I've never cut myself so deeply and so much in my life. It was like all up my arms. It was on my ankles. It was on my thighs. It was horrible. But in my mind, it wasn't horrible. And so, yeah. And then after a while, it kind of things started getting better. I went from like, one of my school counselors realized how hard my life was, and I was going through a lot that year, and so she connected me with, from February, which is called a youth partner, and it's, you know, a licensed counselor, but they're like younger, so they like are called a youth partner, and they kind of, you know, have ice cream with you and just like a friend and a mentor for you. And so I got a youth partner, and my youth partner went through the same thing I did, and I felt like, oh my god, I felt like I had a purpose. Like she was like so purposeful for me at that time in my life. And then I started being like really happy and good. There was a slip up, but I'll talk about that in a different video. But it wasn't like a bad slip up. And then I was like really good. And then I finally like talked to, like, me and my dad started, we weren't close. Like as things started easing out and everything, we weren't close, but we were starting to rebuild our relationship. And like he did come to me, and he started seeing my cuts and stuff, and he's like, you know, if you need a psychologist, I will be there with you. And so he didn't realize I had a therapist, because I did have a therapist, but I did on my own terms. And so and I did have a therapist with my mom, but it didn't work out, obviously, because that's not the best practice. And so later, I, like, my dad's like, I don't know what to do, something has changed. Like, he said, like, this isn't the person I knew, and it really hurt me. And then somewhere in that conversation, I told him I wanted to go to college, and this is the college I want to go to, and there's a summer camp for it, so I went to the summer camp, and I felt like things were starting to come back together. I had a future and all that, and like my first 2 years of college were like okay, and then I started to slip up again, and we were moving out of our house, and then things were really stressful. My mom was blaming me for everything in that house. There were stains and this and that. It was really hurting me, because I'm like, I wasn't the only person that lived in that house. And then pretty much my end of the year of college, I got really depressed, and my third year of college, like, I cut myself more even more times. And I got really close to a teacher, which I can get into about that. I'm not close with her anymore, but when I'm ready, I'll talk about that slip up. But and so pretty much I got really close to her. It was like a daughter, because as you know, I was like literally like craving that mother-daughter relationship, so she was like a motherly figure to me. She would help me with homework, she would have dinners with me, she would, like, even though it's unethical, she still did it for me, you know. Like, I really needed that person in my life. I really needed the person to support me and help me grow. And like, I still, out of everything she's done to me, I still thank her for that. But we don't talk anymore, but deep down my soul, I do thank her for that. And then pretty much later, it was like my last year of college. I was really scared of my future. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Me and my mom's relationship fell apart again, like really bad. Like, and I was like close to like blocking her. And like back in my senior year of high school, I did block her. I did go on like on a thing with her, and then I did block her like for the whole like summer of my senior year of high school. And so my senior year of college, it fell apart. And so like I was just like really upset with her and stuff, and all of that. And obviously I couldn't tell her like I want to move her with my teacher. I never told him that, and I still don't. They don't know what I went through, but you know, one day maybe I will talk to them about it. But as of right now, I still don't feel safe enough to talk about it. But so I wanted to have like, I guess, a dinner, and so pretty much I went to their house for Christmas, and I was like really scared because like things weren't good with us. And I also was keeping this deep secret, which in a way is my teacher's fault, because she was keeping her eyes on me like all the time, making sure I don't say anything to anybody, because she can get, her job is online. And on top of that, I was going through stuff, and I was still trying to heal, and so that was a lot of pressure on me. And so I was like, you know, nobody cares about me. I really didn't have that many friends. I had a good couple, but I really didn't have many. Like, you know, like right now I don't have friends. I can keep peace with that. Like, I don't mind not having friends. As of right now, like, I am good with that. Like, I love my life, but like back then it was really hard for me to be by myself. I hated my own presence, but I've learned to accept that. But pretty much I was like, it's Christmas. It was like Christmas Eve. I got in a really big fight with my parents. Like, we were talking about my childhood, and I was talking about my trauma. I felt hurt, this and that. And of course, my dad agreed in some ways, but my mom did not agree, and she thinks I had the best life. She does not remember her being absent, because I think somewhere in her brain, it blocked that part of her life out. Maybe she was going through something. I do know she did go through a lot of trauma with her ex-boyfriend, who she dated when who she was together with when she was with, after my dad and all that stuff. Well, kind of during my dad, but yeah. But yeah, and so pretty much I think there was trauma there, and so I think because of her own trauma, she did block out the fact that she was kind of gone out of my life, and with my brother, more with my brothers than me. And so then later, it was Christmas Eve. I was really upset, and like some blowout happened, and so I was like, this is it. I wrote a suicide letter, and I was actually gonna do it. And I was on medication, which could have been the cause of really actually acting on it, was because I was on medication. I was starting on a new medication for my anxiety and my depression. And so because of that, like, medication can do that, and I think that's exactly what happened. And so pretty much it was like 10 o'clock at night. I was also really anxious because like I really like relied on my teacher and like my emotional like well-being onto her, which is probably my bad too, because like you should never like rely on someone that so much, because we trauma bonded, and because we trauma bonded, I relied on her with my life. Like I relied on her for everything. Like I got anxious if I didn't answer, if I didn't hear a respond from her for like maybe a day or two. I would freak out, and maybe that was maybe a manipulation tactic on her part too, but I don't know. I think it was both sides at that point. But and so I was freaking out. I was like, I haven't heard from her, this and that, and so I was like, I'm going to end it. And so pretty much what happened was I had Prozac medication, and so I took 15 of them, and I started feeling like drowsy. I remember that. And then I texted my teacher and I was like, I'm sorry, I took 15 pills, I can't do this anymore. Like, and so I texted her that, and she said call 911. She calls me, and then I was like, I don't feel comfortable calling 911. And then I eventually did call them, and then they like told me like a like detoxing thing I can do without going to the emergency room, that's what I wanted to do, and that's what they did. And so I bought something from the store to help with my detox, because it was a drug overdose, and I don't think I took enough for my body to shut down yet, so, but I was just like really drowsy, and so I went to the store and got some. The next morning I was like, I felt really weird. I was like, I'm alive. I was like happy, but I was like upset that I was alive at the same time. And so yeah, and that was like one of the most surreal ones. I did do one that I have not talked about, which I'll talk about in a second, that I forgot about. It was one when I was in third year of college. I was needing to watch, like my parents were going out of town, and so I was needing to watch the pets at home. I started getting really depressed, and this is when I started getting diagnosed with BPD, is where I started having these like euphoric episodes, and then I would get really depressed. And so I got really, really depressed because I was in the room that I grew up in, and because I was like in college and not living at home, I hated being at home because it would bring back memories of high school. And so because I was there, and so in my third year I was like, oh my gosh, I can kill myself here. Like, nobody's here, nobody can save me. And so that's what I did. And I kind of forgot I had a meeting with my teacher. So I took, like, it was a very low dosage, but it was my brother's medication, which was for his thyroid, and obviously I don't have thyroid issues, so if you take medication, obviously it isn't prescribed for you, it will do a different effect for you. And so that's what I did, and I took, like, I think it was like 5, I took 5 of his thyroid medication, and then I kind of laid down for a little bit. I was not, like, sleeping, but I felt like I was sleeping. And then, like, I think it was, like, more, like, of a high effect. And so I was, like, talking to my teacher, and I was, like, obviously not, like, there. Like, she saw it, too. She's, like, are you okay? Like, I was, like, no. I'm, like, really tired and sleepy. And so we had, like, some studying to do, so I tried to do it, and I tried to focus really bad. And so then, I took a nap, and I'm like, I could have died. It was not even really, I think I was like 50-50 meaning to, but like, I was like, yeah. And so those were like my 2 like major ones where I really did do dangerous acts. I was really trying to like doing that. And then in my 3rd year, I was living in college, and I was really depressed, and I started drinking more. And when I was I was also hurting because when I turned 21, I never got that like 21 party with maybe my family that most kids have. And so I'm like, I was like thinking, I was like, why do I not matter that much? When obviously I could have just done it myself, you know, but it's like that meaningfulness to it. And so I like started drinking. I started drinking with my friends, and so I did it by myself. And there were kind of 2 instances of it, pretty much. So pretty much the first time, it was like in my 3rd year, and the second time was my 4th year when I was almost about to graduate. And so pretty much in my 3rd year, I got drunk one time in my 2nd year, and I was like really like hungover, and I don't know why, but I think it might have been the euphoric feeling, because when you have BPD, especially if you're in a BPD episode, I don't have those anymore, but when I was lost and out of control, I had these euphoric episodes where if I had a hangover, I felt like I was the best thing. I felt like I was the happiest person in the world, and that's what I was craving, is to be happy. And so because I was like, oh my gosh, if I drink, I feel amazing. Like I like could like skyrocket and run. And so like when I would like have these things, I would run to like the bridge, which like in the past in my college years, I would look at the bridge and I would like, you know, it'd be so great if I could just jump off of it, which in my senior year I thought about a lot. It was like I would like take walks and stuff, and I would pass the bridge and I'll be like, you know, it'd be great if I just jump over it. It's a highway. Like I would just die instantly, you know. And so then pretty much I we go to the top of the parking garage, and I was like feeling so great. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, and this and that. And so yeah, and so then I did it again. And so I did it by myself, and I took like a drink, like let's say like half of Pink Whitney. And I don't know if you know it, most of you all probably know, like Pink Whitney is like very dangerous because it's so sweet. And so because of that, I like would drink it and get really drunk, and I got so bad it like I threw up all over my apartment, and it was like really bad. It was embarrassing and embarrassingly bad. But and so I'll keep doing that. And so then in my 4th year, I was really depressed. I was going through a lot, so I did that. I took that. I took mics, I took Trulies, and I took Pickaninny, which is very dangerous. And so I pretty much almost killed myself because I got really drunk. I slept for 3 days. It was the most I've ever slept in my life. People were texting and calling me. I was like, where are you? You haven't came to class. My teacher was texting me. I had meetings I had to go to I never went to. I was gone for 3 days. I was sleeping. I woke up and I woke up in the hospital. And my friend was there. And I got alcohol poisoning. And I was really out of it, but in my brain I was like, I almost killed myself. And that was my first real attempt. My first real attempt before my second one. I was in the hospital. I was kind of crying. My friends brought me they went to Burger King. They got me a burger and a drink. And I felt so lucky to be alive at that moment. And my friends were being really supportive. I couldn't tell my teacher what I just did. And I never did. Part of me was like, why didn't I die? But at the same time, I was like really lucky to be alive, because I was like, how could I tell them? Who would tell my parents I died? I took it slow for the next month. I was really out of it, and after that month I could not drink alcohol again. I couldn't, and I still can't, because that situation traumatized my whole entire body to a point where anytime I drink, even if it's a small sip or something, it's I start gagging, because I think I really did traumatize my body into alcohol. And so I don't drink alcohol. You will rarely see me ever drinking alcohol. I try to kill myself with alcohol, obviously. And so yeah, and so those were my attempts. I will put a viewer discretion advised before I do post this video, because there are very sensitive topics in this video. But if you have watched it this far, thank you. If you ever feel like hurting yourself, I do not self-harm anymore. If you ever feel like hurting yourself, if you feel like you have lived a similar thing as me, or you don't feel like you have friends, I can be your friend. Even if you're 5,000 miles away from me, I will be your friend. Because no matter who you are, what you look like, what your body size is, what education level you have, I don't care. Everybody's worth living in this world. You may be going through a storm right now, but you are worth it, and I hope you know that. This is just my experience, and I wish I came across a video maybe like this where it said that I'm worth it, because you are worth it. And anybody who tells you otherwise is wrong. They are wrong. I find that people like to project. So when someone is trying to bash you, like when I was in like 7th grade, people bashed me. When I was in 8th grade in dancing, people bashed me and all of that stuff. It's like it's projecting onto how they feel about themselves. And I've done it. I'm no victim of not doing that. I've projected onto people. But that's also people projecting onto you. And it sucks that it makes people want to kill themselves. But you are worth it. And I will be your little mentor. If you want somebody for me to check in on, I will check in on you. And all of that. My Instagram DMs are always open. My Patreon is always open. You know, you can comment on my YouTube. I will always be for you guys. You guys are my little butterflies. I love you, and I hope I can create a family on here because you guys are amazing. You guys are worth it. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because there's a lot of cruel people in this world who like to just tear people down, and it hurts me because no one deserves that. And all I gotta say is I hope you guys have a good day. I know this was a touchy subject. I will put on like the crisis lines and stuff and all of that. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. And some things I forgot to put on this video. This is an added version. But pretty much through my like 11th and 12th grade, I did when I was suicidal, I did call the crisis lines. And some of them actually have kept me from actually killing myself. I didn't call the crisis line in college, but I did do it in high school a lot. And I think that is why I never acted on those times, because I did call the crisis line and I was like, hey, I'm suicidal. This is what's going on. This is what I'm going through. And I told them everything. And they would help me. I remember I talked to this like one gentleman on there. And he was like, you're so strong. You're so worth it. And I think that's like honestly what kept me going. And so I just want to add that one on there. But throughout my videos I might add more stuff, because obviously it's a blur. It's like 2026 and all these stuff happened between like 2012 to 2026 throughout those times. So obviously everything's gonna be blur, and those are traumatizing stuff. So things that I may not think of right now may come up in later videos. So just if you keep on watching my videos, you guys may see something. I love you all. Have a great day.